Okay, so in 2011, I was in Gaza. I used to travel there quite a lot because I used to work for a conflict resolution charity. But in 2011, I was there with a little organization called the Gaza Center for Media Freedom. They're a small little local NGO that works in training young journalists. Normally, a lot of these journalists are under the age of sort of 18, and just basic training of how to handle a camera, to not point a camera at a Israeli checkpoint, and also how to interview people, little media ethics and standards. And so I was there for a month, and one day a journalist came up to me because I used to ask a lot of journalists to show me around Gaza City. I was based in Gaza City. It was actually quite a livable place in a lot of ways, but I wanted to see a bit more. And one of the journalists, who was a young female documentary filmmaker, came up to me and said, "Sam, I'm making a documentary about the tunnels." And obviously the tunnels still are a lifeline for Gaza in a lot of ways. 90% of the goods in Gaza come through the tunnels. So she asked, would you like to meet a smuggler who owns a tunnel? I said, great, why not? Because I was there to sort of experience the place as well as sort of help out. So we got picked up from the center of Gaza City in this shiny red Toyota Hilux, brand new. Obviously, the owner had a lot of money because there is a lot of money in Gaza, and the smugglers make the majority of it in a lot of ways. And so this shiny red Hilux rocks up with this old sort of looking guy, he's probably 50s, with sort of cracks in his face. And he sits there, we jump in, the plastic's still on the seats. He's obviously very proud of his shiny new car, which has come through the tunnels from Egypt, not from Israel. And we drive down. The drive, obviously, Gaza is tiny. It's 5 miles wide, roughly, by 25 miles long. So we drive from Gaza City, which is sort of near the center, down to Khan Yunis, which is a town in the south, towards this guy's little tunnel. And what's weird is that once you pass Khan Yunis and start coming up to the checkpoint with Egypt, on the main road, we took a hard right across sort of little countryside orchard sort of, and then into what can be almost sort of a no man's land. And you sit and look either side, and it's clear sort of scenery, except for these tents, and hundreds of tents. Bear in mind, it's only 5 miles long, this border, but there are hundreds of tents. And at that point, I think there were over 300 tunnels from Gaza to Egypt. So he takes us to his, a little white tent, and outside a load of Hamas policemen sort of laying down in the sun, smoking cigarettes, because Hamas takes a cut. They tax everything that came in at that point. So we sit down, go into his little tent. There is a stove on one side, and we sit down. He offers to make us tea, and there's just a hole in the ground with a winch. And so this is one of the smaller tunnels. There are giant tunnels that you could almost drive a car through. This was a smaller one. It was probably 2 meters by 2 meters square, with a winch and a wooden ladder going down. So we sit and we talk. We have a cup of tea. We sort of, the journalist, I'm sort of prepping him for an interview, a story she's about to do. And we talk about his family and his kid and how he named his kids after Ismail Haniyeh, who is the sort of prime minister of Hamas. And all these sort of little weird stories. Tells us about his house, just bought a new house. And then he goes, would you like to go into my tunnel? Since it doesn't happen that often, I was yes. And also I was sort of pressured to say yes because the female journalist was already then descending to the tunnel before I had a chance. So they offered to winch me down, which I thought would be slightly embarrassing since the female journalist had just climbed down. So the depth of the tunnel was probably about 10 meters. And so we climbed down on this little homemade wooden ladder, and then you approach the face of the tunnel, which is you have to sort of crouch to get through. It's probably foot high, and you sort of have to crouch and go in. It's a small tunnel. This guy used to bring back, when we were there, he was bringing through sacks of sugar. And down at the bottom of the tunnel was just this little kid. And these children, these tunnel kids, basically live underground 24 hours. I mean, and definitely whenever the tunnels are operating. And they, carve out the tunnel. They basically build it. And they run back and forth. Basically, they have a winch sort of pulley system where they drag goods back and forth through. So this kid goes, yalla yalla, to show us into the main part of the tunnel, which widens out. It's very small, but then it sort of gets bigger. And it's very basic. Bear in mind that the ground, even 10 feet deep, it's still sand. And all it is wooden boards and sand. So you touch the side and the sand would crumble in. So he took us a little while in. And started to go, this is probably where the border starts. At that point, I decided to turn around. Bear in mind that this is a week where the Israelis had been targeting tunnels with airstrikes, and tunnels frequently. So I thought it probably wasn't a wise idea to spend too much time in the tunnels. Bearing in mind that I'd also told my minders that I wouldn't go set foot in a tunnel. So I turned around and left, and we went back to the Gaza Center for Media Freedom, and I spent the rest of my time helping out the journalists there.